I never planned on that car. Hell, I wasn't even looking for trouble that night. I told myself I was just stepping out to breathe, maybe snatch a wallet off some drunk stumbling home, something light. No heat, no chase. A clean night. But you know how it goes. The streets have a way of putting temptation right in front of you when you least expect it. It was sitting there on 9th and Belmont, parked at the curb in front of that dusty liquor store with a broken neon open sign. A black Escalade, big and shiny, chrome rims catching the streetlight like they were winking at me. Engine running, exhaust puffing little ghosts into the cold night air. Driver's seat empty. Like it was daring me. You don't leave a car like that out here, not in my part of town. That's not luck. That's bait. But I've lived long enough to know bait can still fill your stomach if you take it quick. I looked around. Corner empty. Liquor store door swung open for a second, some guy coming out with a six-pack, hood pulled low. He wasn't the driver, too sloppy, stumbling toward a busted Honda. The Escalade stayed alone, humming like a song only I could hear. I told myself, just a ride. In and out. You'll ditch it before sunrise, sell the parts, pocket enough to cover the debt. That's how I justified it. That's how you always justify it. I slid up to the SUV like a shadow, one glance left, one glance right, then I yanked the handle. Door opened smooth. Leather seats, still warm, smell of new car mixed with some kind of baby powder. For a second, I thought maybe it belonged to one of those soccer moms who thought this neighborhood was safe enough to stop for a bottle of wine. I slipped inside, heartbeat steady. Shifted it into drive. Rolled out slow, like it had always been mine. The city passed by in streaks of orange and blue, headlights and traffic lights blending together. My reflection stared back from the rear view, tired eyes, 3-day stubble, a face carved by nights just like this one. I smirked. Easy money. Too easy. Then I heard it. At first, I thought it was the engine making some kind of noise. A little squeak, soft, almost hidden under the hum of the road. But it came again. Higher this time. Fragile. A cry. I froze, fingers tightening around the wheel. I reached for the volume knob, twisted the radio off, and the sound came clear. Not the radio. Not the engine. A baby. My neck snapped around, slow, like I already knew what I was about to see but prayed I was wrong. And there he was. Strapped into a car seat behind me, wrapped in a light blue blanket, cheeks red from the cold, mouth open wide as he wailed like the world had already betrayed him. Couldn't have been more than 6 months old. Big brown eyes, wet with tears, little fists punching the air. For the first time in years, I felt my stomach drop. Me, the guy who'd pulled triggers, jacked cars, beat men half to death for less than $100. And yet one baby's cry had me shaking like I'd never been in the game before. I slammed the car into park in the middle of an alley, engine rumbling under me. Sweat broke out across my forehead even though the night air creeping through the cracked window was freezing. "Shut up," I whispered, like he'd listen. "Shut up, kid, please." But he didn't stop. His screams only grew sharper, piercing, filling the SUV until it felt like the whole city could hear. Panic clawed at my chest. Cameras at the liquor store. Witnesses on the block. If anyone reported that Escalade stolen and the cops found me with a baby inside? That wasn't grand theft auto anymore. That was kidnapping. Federal time. The kind you don't walk away from. I thought about bailing. Just ditching the car right there, running down the alley, disappearing like smoke. But then I pictured it, the baby left alone in the dark, crying until someone found him. If someone found him. And if they traced it back. My prints on the wheel, my face on a camera, my name tied to a baby left to freeze. I cursed under my breath, pounding the steering wheel once, hard enough to sting my palm. This wasn't supposed to happen. I leaned back, staring at the little thing in the rear view. His face was scrunched tight, tears rolling down to soak the blanket. He didn't know me, didn't care who I was, thief, killer, saint, it didn't matter. To him, I was the stranger who took him away from wherever he belonged. And that scream, it wasn't just noise. It was a judgment. For the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't sure I could handle what I'd done. The crying wouldn't stop. It filled the SUV, bouncing off the glass, drilling straight into my head. I'd been in shootouts, I'd heard men beg for their lives, I'd heard the last rattle in somebody's throat, but this sound? This was different. This was small. Helpless. I leaned over the seat, awkward as hell, trying not to spook him more. "Hey," I muttered, my voice rough, unused to softness. "It's okay, little man. You're good. You're fine." He didn't care. He just screamed harder, fists waving. I pulled back, rubbed my hands over my face. What the hell was I supposed to do? Bring him back to the liquor store? No chance. Cameras, maybe cops already sniffing around. Drop him off somewhere safe. What does that even mean at 2 in the morning? A fire station? A hospital? Every option came with flashing lights, questions I couldn't answer, a one-way ticket to a cage. I started the car again, rolling out of the alley, headlights off. My pulse thumped in my ears, louder than the baby for a second. I knew I needed to think, to figure this out clean, but my brain kept looping back to one truth. Someone left a kid in a running Escalade on purpose. And nobody does that without a reason. Was it an accident? No. I'd seen the blanket tucked around him neat, the straps clipped just right. That wasn't panic. That was preparation. Which meant the whole thing, the car, the empty seat, the engine humming. Maybe it was all a setup. Maybe somebody wanted me to take it. I gripped the wheel tighter, eyes darting to every car that passed, every shadow that shifted. Paranoia settled in quick, the kind that makes your skin itch. In my line of work, paranoia keeps you breathing. But tonight it felt heavier, pressing down like a hand on my throat. The baby coughed, then whimpered softer. My chest squeezed in a way I didn't like. I'd spent years teaching myself not to feel. Feelings get you killed. But hearing him quiet down, just a little, hit me somewhere I thought was dead. I remembered a night years back, before I chose this life, when my brother's girl had handed me their newborn just to grab a bottle from the kitchen. I'd held that tiny thing, stiff-armed and terrified I'd drop him. He'd looked at me with those same wide eyes, like I was the whole world in that moment. Then I gave him back and went out to boost a Civic. Never saw the kid again. Now here I was, holding the wheel with white knuckles, realizing fate had handed me another baby and this time there was no one to pass him to. I pulled into another alley, killed the lights. My hands shook as I dug my burner out of my jacket. One number saved. Rico. If anybody knew what to do with this kind of mess, it was him. He picked up on the second ring, voice groggy but sharp. "Yeah. Rico, it's me." Pause. "What you want at this hour?" "I got a situation." I glanced back at the car seat. The baby's cries had softened into little hiccups, like he was running out of energy. I jacked a ride. Escalade. Thought it was clean. But what? Rico's tone tightened. "There's a kid in the back. A baby." Dead silence. Then he laughed, low and ugly. "Man, you out your damn mind? You telling me you kidnapped a baby?" I didn't know. My voice came out harsher than I meant. The car was running, empty seat, I took it. Then I hear crying, next thing I know, there's a damn car seat back there. Rico cursed under his breath. "This city's crawling with eyes, bro. You realize what you holding? That ain't just heat. That's nuclear. You get caught with that kid, you ain't seeing daylight again. They'll bury you so deep the rat's gonna need a map to find you." "You think I don't know that?" I snapped. "Tell me what to do." Another pause. I could hear him breathing heavy through the line, like he was pacing. Then his voice dropped. "Listen. Could be a trap. You ever think of that? Someone sets you up, leaves the car sweet and ready, makes sure you take it. Then boom, you're on the news as some psycho who stole a baby. You're done. Meanwhile, whoever really wanted that kid gone. They disappear clean." The words sank in like knives. That was the exact thought crawling at the edges of my mind. "So what, I just dump him?" I said, but the idea made my stomach twist. "You dump him somewhere safe, anonymous. Hospital drop-off, fire station, doesn't matter. Just don't get seen. And for God's sake, don't get attached. This ain't your problem. This ain't your kid." The baby whimpered again, soft and pitiful, like he understood every word. I hung up without saying goodbye. My throat was tight, my hands trembling. Rico was right. This wasn't my problem. I should just get rid of the evidence, both the car and the baby, and disappear. But I didn't move. I just sat there in the dark, staring at him in the mirror. His eyes were open now, glossy under the faint light from the dash. He wasn't crying anymore. He was just looking at me, calm, curious, like he was waiting for me to decide what came next. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a thief. I felt like something else. Something I couldn't name. That scared me more than the cops ever could. The streetlights stretched thin as I drove, shadows breaking across the windshield like bars. Every turn of the wheel felt heavier, like the Escalade itself was judging me for not knowing what the hell I was doing. The baby had gone quiet, thank God, but the silence didn't comfort me. It pressed down harder, made me think too much. I couldn't just keep rolling around the city with him in the back. Cops were everywhere on nights like this, hunting for drunk drivers, running plates for fun. All it would take was one patrol car slowing behind me, one curious look, and my whole life would be over. I needed a plan. Something fast, clean. I turned down 5th, then 7th, weaving the backstreets like I had a map tattooed on my brain. I'd grown up here, stealing bikes before I stole cars, hiding from cops in the same alleys I now used for shortcuts. The city was in my blood, but tonight it felt foreign. Like every corner was waiting to spit me out. I thought about dumping the car in the river lot, same place I'd ditched a dozen before. Leave it with the baby inside, call it in anonymous. But then the picture flashed in my head, some drunk stumbling past, seeing the kid, taking him, selling him, worse. My gut knotted. That couldn't happen. Not on my watch. And why the hell did I care so much? That was the question clawing at me. I'd left men bleeding in alleys before, wallets in my pocket, never thought twice. But one baby, one pair of eyes staring at me in the rear view, and suddenly I was hesitating. I pulled into an abandoned gas station lot, shut the engine. The glow from a busted streetlight flickered overhead, painting the car in sickly yellow. I twisted around. The baby was still awake, eyes wide, hands fidgeting in the blanket. "What the hell am I supposed to do with you?" I whispered. He just blinked. My phone buzzed. Rico again. "You still got it?" he asked, no hello. "Yeah." "Then you're a damn fool. You shoulda dropped that kid an hour ago." Words already out. I just got a ping. Cops looking for a stolen black Escalade with a baby inside. "It's on the scanner, bro." "That's you." My chest tightened. How the hell they know so fast? "Maybe because it was a setup," he said. "Maybe somebody wanted this exact thing to happen. You listening? They wanted you on the hook. Now the whole city's looking for a baby snatcher, and guess who fits the bill?" I closed my eyes, cursed under my breath. "You gotta burn that ride," Rico said, voice low, urgent. "Torch it, walk away, disappear for a while." "The kid? What about the kid?" I snapped. "He ain't yours. Drop him where someone finds him. End of story." The baby made a soft noise, a coo, almost like he understood he was the topic. It twisted something inside me. I didn't answer Rico. Just hung up, stared at the windshield until my reflection blurred. Torch it. Walk away. That was the smart move. That was the only move. But I couldn't. Not yet. I started the engine again, pulling back onto the road. The city looked different now. Sirens in the distance, red and blue bouncing off buildings, helicopters cutting the sky. They were hunting. For me. I needed answers. Who leaves a baby in a car like that? Who wanted me to take the fall? Faces flickered in my head. Guys I'd crossed. Deals gone bad. Rival crews who'd love to see me rot in a cell. But this was something else. This was personal. Too precise to be random. I stopped at a red light, heart pounding. A squad car slid by in the opposite lane, moving slow, their spotlight sweeping. I ducked lower, praying they didn't clock the plates. The baby stirred again, soft whimper rising. "Sure," I whispered, tapping the wheel with nervous fingers. "Stay quiet. Just a little longer." The light turned green. I rolled forward. And that's when I saw it. A flyer taped to a telephone pole. Blurry photo of a baby. Same blue blanket. Same round cheeks. Letters printed in bold black. Missing. My stomach dropped. I swerved into a side street, killed the lights, pulled over. Hands shaking, I grabbed the flyer, ripped it off the pole, scanned the words under the dim glow of the dashboard. Missing since 6 p.m. Last seen in a black Escalade. If found, contact. The number was there. A mother's name. A father's. The baby gurgled behind me, like he knew he was staring back at me from the paper. That's when it hit me. Whoever set this up didn't just want me caught. They wanted me framed for the whole damn disappearance. Kidnapping wasn't an accident. It was the plan. And now I was in the middle of it. The flyer shook in my hands even though the wind was dead. Cheap paper, ink bleeding where the rain had caught it earlier. A number. A name. A time. Missing since 6. It was past 2. 8 hours is a lifetime when you're small and the world is loud. I didn't dial right away. Calling from my burner was a bad idea and I only had the one. No stash because I'd promised myself I was done getting cute with extra phones. Stupid promise. I shoved the flyer under my thigh, pulled the Escalade back into gear, and rolled through the grid like a ghost, keeping a car between me and anybody with eyes. The kid fussed, a soft rubbery sound like he was working up the courage to wail again. "Hey, easy," I muttered. "We're doing this smart." I cranked the heat just enough to warm the air around the car seat. The dashboard vent sighed. I needed a phone I could burn after one call. The only place I knew still had a public handset was Sal's Wash and Dry on Larch. Sal never fixed what wasn't broken and he paid cash for everything, including the heavy metal payphone bolted to the wall by the vending machines. I took side streets, passed under the dead eye of a camera on a pawn shop and ducked into the laundromat lot. Inside smelled like bleach and tired people. A woman dozed upright on a plastic chair, a dryer thumping a rhythm that could put a man to sleep if he wasn't carrying a felony on his shoulders. I killed the engine and listened. No sirens close, no tires whispering in. I popped my door, then stopped. I wasn't leaving the kid alone even for a minute. Not after tonight. I unlatched the car seat with hands that felt like they belonged to somebody else and hoisted him out. He was heavier than he looked. Warm. Real. We went in together. The woman cracked an eye, took us in, decided we weren't her problem, went back to drifting. I fed coins into the phone until the dial tone sang and keyed in the number from the flyer with my knuckle so I wouldn't smudge it more. My stomach crawled into my throat while it rang. 2 rings. Click. A man's voice. No hello. Where are you? Not, who is this? Not, do you have my son? Just location, like he was reading from a card. Behind him I heard something. Another line open, a murmur, the faint metallic echo you get from speakerphones. I said nothing. Hello. The man's calm cracked. If you have him, please. Please just say something. Who am I talking to? I asked, keeping my voice low and flat. Evan. The name from the flyer. Look, we can work this out. No cops. No cops. Funny, because I could hear a cop's patience in the silence between his words. A wait that wasn't panic but procedure. Then a second voice, a whisper like a ghost close to the mic, not his, female, shaky, "Don't tell them where." The line fuzzed, a pop, and then another voice altogether, smooth and official. "Sir, if you could provide your location, we can." I hung up so hard the metal handset clanged. Eyes on me now, the dozing woman pretending not to stare. The baby screwed up his face, getting ready to 3-alarm it. "Not here," I told him and myself. Back in the SUV, I strapped him in, hands suddenly sure, like I'd done it before in another life. He let out one heroic yowl and then settled into these little hiccup breaths that made me hate whoever put us in this mess. Headlights turned into the lot. A black sedan, too clean for this neighborhood, too careful on the turn. My skin prickled. I sank low, key turned but not engaged. The sedan idled by the curb, engine whispering. No one got out. A minute stretched into 2. I counted my heartbeats, slow on purpose, then eased the Escalade out the other side of the lot, keeping the laundromat between us like a shield. In my mirror, the sedan's turn signal winked twice and went dead. They didn't follow. Not immediately. I drove 3 blocks with the dome light on, acting like any exhausted parent praying the baby stays asleep. Then I killed the light and ducked into an alley to breathe. The baby had gone quiet again, eyes glittering in the dash glow. I noticed a bag on the floor behind his seat, a gray diaper bag with a white tag. I dragged it forward. Inside, formula, pre-mixed bottle sweating cold, a pack of wipes, 2 diapers, a tiny blue hat with a stitched whale, and a folded paper, bigger than a receipt, smaller than a letter. My name wasn't on it, because I wasn't supposed to be here. But somebody's was. It was a Polaroid. The kind you shake even though you don't have to. Woman with dark hair and tired smile, baby on her chest. Same blanket. On the back, written in black marker, ETTA. Under it, a date from 3 months ago and a heartbeat drawn like a kid might doodle. My thumb pressed the ink until it smudged. Glove box next. Registration to a company I didn't know, Harmon Logistics, LLC, downtown address that was more shell than brick. Insurance card clean and current. Nothing that said, this is just a family car, wrong place, wrong time. Everything that said, someone wants to be unfindable. Something chirped, high and faint, not from the dash. The baby didn't react, so it wasn't him. I killed the radio anyway, cut the cabin fan. There it was again. Chirp, chirp, like a cricket. My scalp tightened. I stuffed my hand under the driver's seat. Nothing. Passenger. Nothing. I peeled back the rubber mat in the cargo space and felt it, a hard square stuck where no one looks. Tape, new. I ripped and a black box dropped into my palm, no bigger than a wallet, tiny green LED blinking like a heartbeat. Tracker. Of course, I breathed. Of course you're tagged. I didn't smash it. Smashing is what amateurs do when they want to believe a problem is gone. I wrapped it in foil from a half-unwrapped pack of gum in the console, shoved it in an empty fast food cup, and slid the cup under a dumpster down the block. If someone was watching that, I wanted it to keep moving, just not with me. When I climbed back in, my phone was vibrating under my thigh like it had a pulse. Unknown number. I let it buzz once, twice, then hit accept. A whisper urgent, if you have him, don't call the police. It wasn't the man from before. It was the woman from the echo, but clearer now, closer to the fear. The baby murmured like he recognized her voice. My mouth went dry. Who is this? I asked. They took my husband, she said, skipping names. They said leave the car running outside the store, go inside, wait for a call. If I didn't, her breath hitched. If I didn't, they'd cut off his fingers. I waited. No one called. I called the number and it wasn't them. It was different. Please, please tell me he's okay. He's breathing, I said, which was more mercy than she'd been given tonight. What's your name? Silence. A car rolled past the mouth of the alley, slow. I could hear the woman thinking about whether her name could kill her if she gave it to the wrong man. Etta, she whispered finally, like a secret. You saw the flyer. I know you did. I looked at the Polaroid on my knee. I did. Don't bring him to a station, she said. They won't let me near him. They'll take him into protective custody. He'll be a case number. Her voice cracked like dry wood. Please. What do they want? I asked. Money, she said. And something from my husband's work. I don't know what. They said it's in the glove box, but there was nothing. There was supposed to be a phone in the console for them to call. Is it there? I checked the covered compartment between the seats again, deeper this time. My fingers hit plastic, a cheap prepaid with a sticker across the face. One word on the sticker, nurse. As I peeled it, the screen lit and vibrated. The contact list had one entry. It rang before I could breathe. I hit accept, put it on speaker, eyes on the mirrors. A voice like glass on tile. You're late. Plans changed, I said, because I didn't have a better lie. The baby sighed in his sleep. Take the boy to the red door on Alder, the voice said. 2 knocks, then 3. Leave him, walk away. 5 minutes later, you'll get a location for the exchange. And if I don't? My own voice sounded calm. I wondered who I was pretending for. "We close the file," the voice said. "On the husband, and on anyone else who touched this." The line clicked dead. No chance to stall, no chance to argue. "Did you hear that?" I asked Etta, but her line had gone to static. Either she'd killed it or someone had for her. I tossed the nurse phone into the diaper bag like it burned. Red door on Alder. There were 3 red doors on Alder if you counted the bar with the fights and the church that painted theirs every Easter. Only one had no street number and a camera bubble over the lintel like a blind eye. You can tell a place that expects visitors who don't want to be seen. I drove with the baby's soft breath filling the cabin and the rest of the city's noise pushed way, way out. Every red light felt like a held breath. Twice I saw a set of headlights stick 2 turns too long, and twice they peeled off when I changed my mind at the last second and cut through a lot. The tracker trick must have bought me a few minutes. Not enough. Alder looked empty when I turned down it, but empty is a lie cities tell you while they go quiet to listen. Gravel crunched under the tires. The red door was exactly where I remembered. No sign, paint clean, old brass knob that said nobody ever touches me. I parked half a block away, nose out, engine humming low in case I needed to move fast. I checked the baby. He was staring at nothing, all the wisdom of the world condensed into pupils the size of dimes. My hands did something before my head could argue. I pulled the little whale hat over his soft hair and tucked the blanket tighter so cold wouldn't get ideas. He didn't protest. "No hero moves," I told myself under my breath. "You're a delivery man. That's it. In, out, live." I lifted the car seat, felt the weight of it in my arms, the way it reorganized everything about where my center of gravity was. The night smelled like damp wood and oil. I walked to the door, feeling watched by the streetlights and the dead windows above. 2 knocks, then 3. Hollow thuds. Every hair on my arms stood up. For a second, nothing. Just my breath, the tiny rustle of the blanket. Then, from somewhere behind me, a low engine note, creeping. Another from farther off, answering. A camera above the door rotated with a soft insect whir and focused on my face. That's when the baby went quiet. Too quiet. I tilted the seat and saw it, taped under the plastic base, so neat I'd missed it before. Another black box, smaller than the first, a red, pulsing like a countdown. Headlights flooded the alley from both ends at once. Tires rolled up slow on either side, hemming us in, doors clicking open like the cocking of a dozen pistols. And somewhere beyond the light, a woman's voice broke into a sob that wasn't mine to hear. Engines idled low, a growl from both ends of the alley. The kind of sound that tells you you're boxed in, your exits counted and covered. My fists tightened on the baby carrier handle until my knuckles burned. He shifted, making a soft noise, not a cry, more like he knew something ugly was crawling toward us. Men stepped out of the cars, 3 from one, 4 from the other. Dark jackets, gloved hands, the glint of metal tucked where they thought I couldn't see. Professional, not street kids. Movements clean, no chatter. One carried himself different, shoulders squared, head high like he was the one writing tonight's script. He came closer, boots scuffing gravel. "Put the boy down," he said, voice smooth but sharp enough to cut. Accent faint, money school polish hiding under concrete. Nice and slow. My eyes flicked to the door. The camera above it stared back, red light blinking, watching me sweat. Inside, silence. No one rushing out to take the kid, no welcome party. Just the door and this crew, like maybe the red door, was never about a place but a stage for their little play. "You think I'm an idiot?" I said, voice low. "I drop him, I don't walk away." "You're already not walking away," the man answered. He smiled like he enjoyed saying it. "But you get to choose how loud it is." One of the others shifted, hand brushing the grip of his pistol. I adjusted the seat against my leg, keeping the baby shielded by my body. My mind raced. Options. Not many. 7 men, armed, cars blocking both ends. Only thing between me and a bullet storm was the fact I was holding cargo they needed alive. "What's the game?" I asked. "You want the kid, you could have taken him hours ago. Why feed him to me?" The leader's eyes narrowed. "Because you were convenient. Disposable. When the cops found you with him, Story writes itself. Career thief takes car, child inside. Tragedy, outrage. Everyone stops looking for the real problem. And what's that? I pushed. He tilted his head, amused. That this boy's father owes us things he can't pay. Things worth far more than paper money. He works in places he shouldn't, keeps files he shouldn't keep. We asked politely. He stalled. So we took collateral. My gut twisted. I pictured the Polaroid in the diaper bag, the woman's whisper over the phone. Husband cut out of the picture, wife used as delivery mule, me shoved in the middle like a fool. You could have just kept him, I said. Why risk me? Because, the man said, stepping closer, we needed the family desperate enough to bring the right file. Tonight. To this door. And while they scrambled to do it, you carried the evidence, taking every camera, every witness with you. A moving distraction. Beautiful, really. He was proud of it. Like I'd been a pawn in some grand chess match. I tasted blood in my mouth from biting my tongue too hard. The baby shifted again, eyes fluttering. I could feel his warmth seeping into my arm, into places I didn't want warmed. He was never supposed to be mine to care about, but here I was, weighing his life like it meant more than mine. What now? I asked, even though I already knew. The leader spread his hands, mock polite. Now you put him down and walk into the dark. Maybe you live. Maybe not. That part doesn't matter. My mind screamed run. My body stayed still. Every instinct I'd built on these streets told me to cut my losses, throw the kid down, and claw my way out. But my gut, the same one that had kept me alive when bullets sang past my head, told me something different. They'd kill me the second I let go. And worse, they'd still take him. I looked at the cars again, calculating. The alley wasn't wide. If I got back in the Escalade, slammed reverse, I might punch through one of the blocks. But I'd be steering one-handed with a baby in the other, and if they fired... The leader raised a hand. One of his men drew his gun fully, barrel gleaming under the streetlight. Enough waiting. Wait, I barked, louder than I meant. My voice bounced off the brick walls. You kill me here, you still got heat. You don't want that kid screaming while the neighbors call it in. The leader paused, considering. Behind him, one of the others chuckled under his breath. The kind of laugh men make when they think you're finished. I shifted the carrier, set it gently on the hood of the Escalade, hand still gripping the handle. I leaned in close, whispered into the blanket. Stay quiet, little man. Just this once. The baby cooed, like he understood. My throat tightened. Then I moved. I swung the carrier sideways, using the bulk of it as a shield, and slammed my shoulder into the leader's chest. He stumbled, curse ripping from his mouth. Gunfire cracked, deafening in the alley, muzzle flashes strobing the night. I ducked behind the SUV, baby seat clutched tight, heart hammering like it was trying to punch out of my ribs. Bullets sparked off metal. One tore through the side mirror, another shattered the rear glass. The baby wailed, shrill and desperate, fear cutting straight through me. I dropped low, slid along the length of the Escalade, and yanked the rear door open. Get in, get in. I strapped the carrier onto the seat with hands that barely listened to me. Another shot rang, pinging off the roof. I slammed the door shut, threw myself into the driver's side, and twisted the key. The engine roared, faithful despite the abuse. I jammed it into reverse, tires squealing, the SUV lurching backward. One of their cars loomed in my rear view. I didn't slow. Metal screamed as I plowed into it, crumpling the hood, glass exploding outward. Shouts behind me, more gunfire. I shifted to drive, floored it. The Escalade surged forward, clipping one of the men who hadn't moved fast enough. His body hit the pavement hard, rolling out of my view. I didn't look back. The alley vomited me onto Alder, tires howling, engine growling like it wanted blood. The baby cried, the sound piercing but alive. That was all that mattered. Alive. Sirens bloomed in the distance, closer this time, chasing the gunfire. My chest heaved, hands shaking as I gripped the wheel. Every instinct told me to ditch the ride, ditch the kid, ditch the whole damn night. But it was too late. I wasn't just a thief anymore. I was part of something bigger, and the kid was right in the center of it. And whether I liked it or not, so was I. The sirens got teeth, digging into the night, bouncing off brick and glass until it felt like they were inside the car with us. I blew 2 lights I shouldn't have, then cut hard down a lane only locals used, trash cans lined up like soldiers, the stink of rot and wet cardboard exploding into the cabin. The baby's cry climbed, thin and furious. I wanted to tell him to save his strength. We were going to need it. My rear view filled with blue and red. Not right behind me, yet, but close enough to stain the street. I killed my headlights for a breath and let a delivery truck be my shadow, tucked tight to its bumper until we cleared the next block. The Escalade was a lighthouse, loud and shiny. I needed to be something else. I took the ramp to the midtown parking decks, levels stacked like ribs. You could get lost up there if you were on foot. In a car you could disappear for a minute, maybe 3 if you were blessed. I went up 2 levels, then another, circling until the concrete felt like it was tilting. The tires echoed. I nosed into a dark corner facing a dead elevator and killed the engine. The silence slapped. I could hear the baby breathing in staccato little gusts. "Okay," I said, hands flat on the wheel. "Okay. First things first. That second tracker." I yanked the car seat loose enough to tilt it, fingers searching under the base until I felt the tape seam. The red dot blinked like a heartbeat in a horror movie. I didn't like touching it. It felt like a lie designed to ruin me. I ripped it free, wrapped it in the foil from the gum like its twin, then scanned for someplace far and dumb. The ceiling conduit had a rusted strap half-hanging. I stuffed the wrapped box up there and bent the strap over it until it looked like it had always been crooked. If they were watching, they'd think we weren't moving. For a minute. The baby's face was red now, tears slicking his cheeks. He wasn't screaming, not that high note anymore, but he was working up to it. I dug in the bag, found a bottle still cold, and fumbled with the cap like a rookie. When I pressed the nipple to his mouth, he latched so fast it hurt to watch. He stared at me over it, animal-wide, like I was both salvation and a threat. "You and me," I muttered. "We don't belong here." I wiped his face with the edge of the blanket, clumsy hands careful. Once upon a time I'd have mocked a man for this. Now it felt like the only solid thing on a floor that kept shifting. My burner buzzed, the vibration crawling up my leg. "Rico, you breathing?" he asked. "Barely." "They heard the shots on Alder," he said. "Cops locked the whole grid for 4 blocks in every direction. And your boys, the ones with the shiny shoes, are mad. Word is they lost a man under your tires. They'll want that paid back with interest." "Who are they?" I asked. "They've got money on their words and dirt on their boots." "Rumors say Harmon," Rico said. "Which ain't a who. It's a what. Harmon Logistics is the clean shirt. The body underneath is something else. Boats, trucks, numbers that don't add up. They grease a lot of palms. The kid's old man works somewhere near that spine." I thought about the registration in the glove box, the company address. My gut had been right. Not random. Never random. "You got somewhere," he added, "with no eyes? Because you need to go. The city's a mouth and your name is between its teeth." I looked around the garage. Cameras at the entrance, one dead eye above the elevator. Maybe real, maybe a dummy. Every shadow felt like a trick. "I got 1 move," I said. "Maybe 2. "And the baby?" Rico asked. The way he said it, like the word tasted strange, made me realize how far from normal we were. "He eats," I said. "He breathes." "Don't get soft," Rico warned. "That story ends with steel bars." The line clicked. He was done helping for free. I sat there with the sound of the baby swallowing and the fans ticking as the engine cooled. My pulse settled into a pattern I recognized, right before a job, right before a fight. The difference was I was holding something I couldn't replace. I checked the console phone, the one labeled nurse. No new calls. They'd given me a command and expected obedience. Etta's number flashed in my head like a street sign. I didn't want to use my burner again, but I didn't have choices. I dialed. She picked up so fast she must have been staring at the screen. "Hello." "He's alive," I said. I could hear the breath leave her like a man punched. "Listen to me. Don't talk to the cops. They're listening anyway. They took Evan, she said, words falling over each other. They took him from the loading dock. He called me once. He sounded wrong, like he was reading. They told me to leave the car. I waited for the call that never came. Are you with the Red Door people? I almost laughed. No. The Red Door people shot at me. Silence. Then small, thank you for not leaving him. I didn't do it for you, I said, then hated myself for the cruelty when I heard her breath catch. I'm getting leaned on from every direction. I need the reason. What's in your husband's files that's worth a baby? I don't know, she said. He stopped telling me anything that sounded like work months ago. He said it wasn't safe to know. He kept notes at home, then he burned them one night and told me we were moving. We didn't move. Where are those notes now? I told you, burned. He said everything that mattered lived on a drive at the office that can't leave the building. But he also said there was a mirror hidden where no one would think to look. Something small. She gulped. There was a seam torn in the diaper bag last week. I sewed it and he thanked me like I'd saved his life. I didn't understand. The bag sat open in the passenger footwell, whale hat on top. I dumped it onto the seat and ran my fingers over the lining until I felt the warp she'd described. A neat line of thread, tighter than factory. I worked it with my nail and something thin slid into the light, a micro SD card, black as a lie. Found it, I said. On her end, a sob, relief and terror mixed. They'll kill him if they know you have it. They'll kill him if they don't, I said. A distant thud in the garage made my skin ripple. Somewhere above, a car door slammed. The baby flinched, then settled, trusting the bottle more than my words. Where can I get you without eyes? I asked. Nowhere, she said, voice ragged. They'll be watching me. They'll be watching hospitals, stations, our house, my mother's. I can't move without someone noticing. Then you don't move, I said. Sit still. Cry for the cameras. Let them think you're broken. I'll move. Who are you? She asked. Why are you helping? I thought about a night years ago, a kitchen light, a woman putting a baby in my arms and asking me to hold him just for a second. I thought about how fast I'd put him down and run to do something that cost me more than I'd admit. Nobody, I said. I'm nobody. Footsteps scuffed concrete, closer, the sound multiplied by the empty space. I slid my burner under the mat and peered over the dash. Two shadows cut the light near the ramp, moving slow, scanning. Not cops. Wrong silhouette. Private muscle. I ended the call and pocketed the card. The Escalade was too hot to keep, too distinctive to slip past anyone with eyes. But a parking garage on a weeknight had one thing going for it. People left their lives in neat lines with keys tucked in obvious places. I checked the rows, heart matching my footfalls. A sedan 2 lanes oversat with the window cracked to bleed heat, parking stub on the dash, air freshener spinning. I cupped my hands to the glass, saw the keys in a cup holder like a prayer answered. I probed my sleeve, pulled the thin strip of metal I kept sewn into the cuff for exactly this kind of sin, and popped the lock with a whisper. Sorry, I told the absent owner under my breath. I'll bring her back if the world lets me. I jogged to the Escalade, snapped the car seat free, and sprinted the distance with my spine buzzing, waiting for a shout, a shot, a nothing that turned into everything. The baby didn't cry. He watched me like he'd decided I was worth betting on for one more minute. We slid into the sedan, and I breathed when the engine turned over without protest. I backed out slow, no squeal, just another tired man leaving a long day. At the gate I fed the stub to the machine, felt every camera in the city look at the wrong car. The arm lifted like a blessing. Out on the street the air felt colder. I merged into traffic, ordinary at last, my pulse starting to believe me. I dialed Rico again on speaker. You're still alive, he said, relief and accusation. For now. I got the mirror. That card'll get you dead, he said. But it'll buy you leverage on the way. Leverage on who? I asked. He hesitated. There's a detective who hates me less than most. Morales. She doesn't eat out of Harmon's hand. You hand her something that stinks, she won't pretend it smells like roses. But you walk into a precinct with a baby? They'll take him, and you with him. I watched a city bus lumber through the light, faces pale behind fogged glass. The diaper bag rode shotgun, the whale had a blue dot in the dark. I'm not delivering him to anyone who thinks he's a case number, I said. Not yet. Then you better learn to be 2 steps ahead of everyone, Rico said. Because they're all coming. Let them, I said. A pair of headlights settled in my mirror and didn't blink when I turned. Then another set fell in 2 cars back, too tidy to be random. My skin crawled. Rico, I said, you ever feel the future arriving? Every morning, he said. Why? Because it just turned down 3rd behind me. The baby made a small sound, not fear, not hunger, just a note, like he felt the road tilt too. I tightened my grip on the wheel, checked the mouth of the next alley, and picked a lane that wasn't on anybody's map. The alley narrowed fast, brick pressing in like jaws. Headlights behind me stretched the shadows long, chasing me down a throat with no stomach. I floored the sedan anyway, tires screaming on the damp pavement, the baby's seat rocking against the belt. He didn't cry, he made a low noise, almost a growl, like he'd learned already that silence was safer. The mirrors flashed. First car close, second hanging back. They were good, hurting me, not rushing. Wolves don't sprint until the deer's out of places to run. I cut the lights, yanked the wheel, and shot through a half-collapsed chain-link fence into a yard of rusted dumpsters and busted pallets. The sedan groaned but cleared it. Sparks showered the mirror. The headlights behind me blinked out. They didn't follow blind into places like this. Good. Maybe they'd lost me. I killed the engine and sat still, chest heaving, the stink of oil and rot filling the cabin. The baby shifted, eyes wide in the dark. I put my hand on the carrier, steadying both him and me. We're ghosts, I whispered. No one sees us now. But the ghosts had limits. I couldn't hide forever. Harmon wanted the drive. Cops wanted me in cuffs. And somewhere a woman named Etta wanted her husband back, her baby in her arms. The card in my pocket felt heavier than a pistol. I climbed out, cradling the carrier tight, and moved through the yard. Rats scattered. A hole in the fence spat me onto a street I knew. Old industrial blocks, half-empty warehouses, busted windows staring like blind eyes. Nobody cared about this part of town anymore. Perfect. I found a door that still had a lock but no alarm and jimmied it open. Inside smelled of dust and rainwater dripping through holes in the roof. I picked a corner, laid the carrier down, and sank against the wall. My breath finally slowed. The baby stared at me, solemn as a judge. Don't look at me like that, I muttered. I'm not the hero in this story. He blinked once, slow, like he didn't buy it. I pulled the micro SD from my pocket, turned it in the weak light. Tiny thing. Fragile. All this blood and fire for a square smaller than my thumbnail. I slid it into my burner. The screen hesitated, then opened a folder. Files, dozens of them, stamped with dates and codes. I clicked one. It was a ledger. Numbers, names, shipments. Dates matched docs I knew. Nights crates came in heavy and left light. Weapons. Drugs. Kids, maybe. I scrolled, bile rising. Harmon wasn't just a shell. They were a whole rotten skeleton holding half the city upright. One name repeated more than the rest. Morales. Not the detective Rico mentioned. Different Morales, city councilman, smiling face from posters on every bus stop. Payments, kickbacks, favors. The kind of thing that makes cases disappear. I clicked another file. Photos. Grainy, late-night shots of men shaking hands, cash changing, crates unloaded. One was clear enough to stab me in the chest. The man from the alley, the leader with the smooth voice, grinning at a dock while a forklift hauled something covered by tarps. This was the kind of evidence people killed for. And died for. I closed the phone and shoved the card back in my pocket. My pulse still raced, but now there was steel under it. They'd picked the wrong pawn. The baby fussed. I made him another bottle with hands that didn't shake. He latched fast, tiny fingers curling around mine. Warmth spread through me despite everything. It scared me worse than bullets. Footsteps. Soft, careful, outside the warehouse. More than one set. They'd found me. I scooped up the carrier, pressed flat to the wall. Shadows moved across the broken windows, slicing light. Voices, low. He came this way. Don't spook the kid. They pushed the door. Hinges screamed. Flashlights lanced the dark, beams cutting through dust. I ducked behind a pillar, breath shallow, baby pressed to my chest. I needed a way out. Back door. Maybe. But if I ran blind, they'd gun me down with the baby in my arms. I set the carrier down, kissed the kid's forehead without thinking, then pulled the burner. One move left. I dialed the only number that mattered now. It rang twice. "Rico," I whispered, "tell your detective friend Morales she's about to get the case of her career. I'm sending her Harmon's heart on a plate. But she better be ready to move now, because I'm not walking out of here clean." Rico swore. "Where are you?" "Warehouse Row, West Side." I killed the line before he could argue. The men moved deeper, light sweeping. One passed within arm's length. I held still, the baby mercifully silent. When he turned, I swung a rusted pipe I'd grabbed from the floor. The crack echoed. He dropped. The others shouted. Guns came up. Muzzles flared. I ducked behind the pillar, concrete spitting chips. Dust choked the air. The baby wailed, sharp and terrified. I grabbed the carrier, heart in my throat, and ran. Shots chased me, tearing holes in the dark. I burst through the back door into the night, lungs burning. Sirens screamed closer now, not Harmon's men this time. Real cops. Maybe Rico had pulled his string. Maybe luck had turned. Headlights cut the street. Squad cars swarmed, doors flying open, rifles raised. "Drop the weapon. Hands where we can see them." I froze, baby in my arms, pipe clattering to the pavement. Red and blue washed over me, blinding. Behind me, Harmon's men spilled out, caught in the lights, guns still drawn. For one breath, everyone stared. Then the world exploded. Shouts, shots, cops and criminals colliding in a storm. I dropped to my knees, curling over the baby, shielding him with everything I had left. If this was the end, so be it. But if we walked out, if somehow we lived, Harmon's game was over. Because I wasn't just a thief anymore. I was the witness they could never bury.